Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Digimon Adventure 2020, episode 16. So we're here with another episode, and I am excited to see what we get into this time. Especially with how the last one left off. So we finished off on our Ultimate Digivolution episodes. We had a set of episodes that were dedicated to that. But the last episode left off with Ty's group reaching what appears to be the real world. And I say appears to be because this is reminiscent of something from the original series. And I'm going to say right now that if you have not seen the original series and you wish to not be spoiled, even though this is probably going to be done differently, um, I'm talking like the very original first Digimon Adventure '01 series. If you have not seen that and don't wish to be spoiled, just in case, uh, skip ahead or possibly even go right to the reaction because this is probably what I'm going to be talking about until we actually skip into the reaction. um, so, for those of you still here, in the original series, there's this episode. It was further on in the series, um, but mind you, there's been a lot of changes in this so far. But it was Ty, and I think it was Ty alone in the original series, went back to the human world. He just kind of ended up appearing in the human world somehow. We don't know how. At least I don't think it was ever explained. But he appeared there, and he reconnected with his little sister and everything, but things were off. Things were not quite right, and eventually he did have to return to the digital world in order to save and protect his friends. Um, they might be doing a similar kind of thing here. Um, they might be like doing something similar here, which would make sense, but it's like be a little surprised that it'd be this early. Um, Now, if they plan on bringing Kari in sooner, that would make sense. But also, I'm just still wondering how they're going to bring in Kari sooner. Because since Kari is directly connected to the Myotis Monarch. Um, I don't know. We'll have to see. Or maybe this is to kind of build that up, to prepare us for that, for when that eventually comes. Kind of get us like connected to the idea that Kari's going to become a Digidestined. We'll see. We'll see how that exactly works. But yeah, that's the only thing I can think of that this episode might be. Because they're just walking down the corridor, and then at the very end of last episode, they just kind of are in the human world, and it's just like, okay, what's going on here? So it's going to be interesting to see if that is what they go with, and if it is, how are they going to change it? Like, are they going to do it any differently? Um, I'm hoping for some good things though with this, because just the concept of this alone is a great concept. They've been trapped in the digital world for a good amount of time now, although time moves slower in the human world. But um, yeah, it's like just suddenly appearing in the real world. That's got to be like a shock to them for one, and for two, that can lead to some really interesting moments, especially with three of them having done it. Like that's going to change, I feel, a lot with this. But we'll see. We'll see for sure. Um, Either way, yeah, like I said, I'm excited to see where this goes, and we'll find out. So let's just get this going and hope for the best. Hope that it's another really good episode. Because so far we've gotten two episodes in this series that I would say are like really like the top of the episode pool, like the very, very best. There's only really two that I would say that are that good. And that was, of course, the one episode with the fortress when they got there and had to fight through all the enemies there, and of course the episode with Lilymon and Andromon. Like that, it was just so tightly written. Not that there weren't other good episodes, but you know. Either way, enough rambling about that. Let's get on with this. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so this wasn't quite what I expected it to be, but I like that. Because this series keeps me guessing and keeps introducing things that I wouldn't have expected. Keeps introducing things that make it feel fresh and new. And even when it does bring back things that are familiar to the original series, it does it in a different way that makes it feel fresh, that makes it feel exciting and special, that makes it feel like it's more than just like copying the original series and doing its own thing. This episode is definitely an example of that. As I mentioned, there is, I won't go into the details again for those who didn't listen to my thoughts and the pre-thoughts and everything for spoiler reasons, but there was an episode similar to this in the original series. I'll leave it at that, and I will say that it did it differently for a number of reasons. The big aspect of this episode is that Tai, Izzy, and Mimi, and again, I'm going to refer to them by their English names, so I'm going to say Tai more often than Taichi, or Izzy more often than Koshiro, even though Izzy is derived from the other part of Koshiro's name, Izumi, but still. I'm still going to refer to them mostly by their English names, because it's what I know them as, I'm sorry. But those three arrive in what appears to be Tokyo, back in the real world. They're confused, but they decide to go along with it and decide to, head home, get some food, all of that jazz. While Izzy's trying to reconnect with his tablet. So they head to the trains, ride the trains, but eventually Mimi splits up from them because she lives in a different part of town and everything. But soon both now split up portions of this group realize that things are not right. Mimi and Palmon realize this when they stop at one beforehand they get lost in the entire station. They can't find their way out. They keep getting thrown back to the same place. But they eventually see a burger restaurant, which just suddenly seemed to appear. Which, yeah, that's just really convenient. But things start to go creepy there when the lady at the counter can only say one line of dialogue, to put it simply, and then starts glitching out and turning really freaking creepy looking. Tai and Izzy, meanwhile, discover all this as well, and eventually the two sides reunite, and they realize that this is not the real Tokyo. They discover the Digimon behind it and start to fight against it. Even all three of them having their Digimon go into their ultimate forms. But they are proving that they're not enough, so we eventually find out that the other side, the other team, had made their way here too. And so we see them arrive in their ultimate forms, ready to fight as well. Like I said in the reaction, this feels like a proper way to conclude this little mini arc we've had about the ultimate evolutions. Because the champion evolutions that we had before that didn't really have a proper send-off. It just kind of went okay, we have the champion evolutions, now we're going to go into the ultimate evolutions. But this way we have a send off. This way we have something that feels like, oh, we had all these episodes giving us all these different evolutions. Now we're going to kind of give a proper send off to that by having all of them come together. You have, even though this enemy is only a champion level, it requires all of these ultimates to defeat because of its, basically, as I said in the reaction, trickery. It's not all that strong on its own, but because of its abilities, it has the, well, it has the ability to stop itself from being directly attacked, making it hard to actually defeat. Yeah, I don't recognize Eismon either offhand, but that might just be me forgetting things. But yeah, I just feel like this really felt right, having all the ultimates come together as a conclusion to that mini arc. Um, and seeing as it's continuing next episode, it's definitely going to get even better. Now, I'm a little worried. I'm worried that they might try to force in mega levels now too, and I think that that would be bad personally. Um, I think that would be a really bad decision because if they try to start moving on to mega levels next, I just feel like that's a little too much. Like going up to ultimate level is fine, but mega level like has always been this like hard to reach, almost unobtainable um evolutionary point. It's just always been so much greater than even ultimate that just introducing it all willy-nilly, especially this early on, would invalidate its point, really. Like I understand introducing champion and ultimate this early on, even if they had to change a lot from the original series to do so. Like that I can get. Especially since, as I've said, I think in the last reaction, a lot of the viewers for this show are going to be classic Digimon fans. Not all of them, mind you, but a lot of them are. You're going to have a big portion of the viewer base having seen the original and having enjoyed the original and knowing all of this context. Because of that, they probably want to push things forward a little quicker in this version. Plus, admittedly, with the way that the world is currently wanting more, instant gratification and everything, they probably feel that more people would rather have this progress quicker. Um, but the problem with this is that you progress it too quickly, and it just feels like this sense of power scaling is a little too, well, unbalanced. It happens a little too quick, and thus it makes it feel cheap. The Dragon Ball universe definitely had this issue too, um, especially with Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Super just introduced things just constantly way out of left field that just felt like way too much, way too quickly, and it just felt unnatural. And I'm really hoping they don't do the same here. Again, I can understand going up to the ultimates, but the mega level, which is basically the final evolution, outside of like special ones, which I don't even know how many of those we'll even get into. Like we clearly have DNA Digivolution with Omnimon having appeared, but still, it's like all in all, I don't know like how much of that we'll even get into in general. But I don't want to see them do everything right off the bat. Again, doing mega level at this point, like before we even reach Devimon, would feel completely out of left field and random and unearned. Because Devimon, who is being built up as our first major antagonist, is still only a champion. You have to realize that. He's only a champion level. So it's like having to bring in megas this early would almost kind of nullify his entire threat. And granted, newer fans might not know that. Newer fans might not know that he's only champion level and everything, but still, once that's found out, it's still going to be like they'll still invalidate the threat because each level, each evolution level is higher than the last, and it's meant to be like this major upgrade. So introducing megas before you even deal with the first major villain who's only a champion, like introducing ultimates, that's one thing. Especially if the champion is notably strong. Like clearly Eismon had the trickery, and Devimon could be very strong as well if they handle him right. So yeah, but at the same time, Mega it would just be just not believable to think that they would need to introduce Mega before that. And I'm saying all this. I'm worried about this because with the fact that at the end of this episode we'll find out that there's another threat, a second threat, even probably stronger than the last. I'm worried because the first threat took all of the ultimate forms to defeat. Now, if they bring in Omnimon again for this second threat, I would be okay with that. Because as I said early on in the series, Omnimon being brought in as kind of this occasional force that is just so much stronger than everything else they have at the moment, and them only bringing it in occasionally for like the really big important stuff, like I would be okay with that. And this is a big thing. Honestly, this feels like the end, almost like the end to an arc in a way, because these are the enemies, the Digimon that are causing the trouble in Tokyo, and so it's like, yeah, this is a big deal. This has been kind of one of their biggest goals since the beginning, fixing Tokyo. So this would definitely make Omnimon okay to bring in. But bringing in the mega forms at this point would just feel really wrong. Now, even if they only brought in like one mega form, like Tai's mega form, which would be War Greymon, even if they only did the one and then brought in the other megas later on, it's still like it would still be too much. I just feel like introducing mega forms at this point in the series, it's like it's way too quick. So I am worried. I'm not saying that that is completely where it's going to go. We don't know yet, but I'm worried because the series has been great, but they have been progressing things really quickly. I can't deny that. They have been progressing things really quickly, and although I'm okay with it, with up to the ultimate levels and stuff, there is a point where they can go way too far. That's all I'm saying. Um, but yeah, so this is clearly a two-parter. We are continuing with this in the next episode. So it's going to be interesting to see what does happen. What I'm hoping happens is that they manage to defeat him just with the ultimates. That they manage to defeat this second Digimon that appeared with just the ultimates. That would be the best case scenario. I would be okay if Omnimon got involved, though. But if they do bring in mega forms, that's going to be too much. It won't destroy the series for me, mind you, but it will be an issue that I can't argue with. Um, but yeah, either way, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Um, and yeah, just hope for the best, really. I do like how this episode mixed in clips from the actual real world to help us believe that this Tokyo was real at first. Um, Mixing in like the stuff with Kari and her and Tai's mom, I think was genius. Because it's very obvious that that was really happening. That they were leaving for Tai and Hikari's grandmother, her house while the power was out and everything. Like, that's fully believable. And they left a note for Ty, and it's like, yeah, okay, I can understand this. I can get behind this. Um, but the fact that it does kind of, for a point, to a point, make you think like, oh yeah, this has got to be the real Tokyo then, right? I think that's just a genius move on their parts. This was a really damn good episode. Like, outside of my fears for what the next episode's gonna bring, this was damn good. This is definitely up there as one of the best episodes of the series, along with the Lilymon episode and the Fortress episode. I would definitely say that those three are the pinnacle of this reboot so far. They just do pretty much everything right. Um, Especially given the circumstances of what we've had so far. So yeah, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Digimon Adventure 2020, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.